This chart shows the number of 50-point playoff games for Michael Jordan compared to Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Wilt Chamberlain combined. Jordan hit that 50-point mark 8 times in the postseason, vastly outpacing all 4 of those legends put together. He matched that staggering offensive output with 9 first-team all-defense selections. Opponents routinely admitted they lost sleep before facing him, terrified by the severe physical dominance and punishing trash talk he brought to the floor. But that commanding presence had to be built. As a 5'11" high school sophomore, he couldn't even make his varsity team. Even after a growth spurt earned a spot at North Carolina, his early numbers were modest, averaging 13 points a game as a freshman. Because the 1980s NBA was entirely structured around towering centers, executives questioned how much a 6'6" guard could realistically impact a game. That skepticism allowed Jordan to slide down to the 3rd overall pick in the 1984 draft, behind massive big men like Hakeem Olajuwon. He entered the league with immense raw athletic talent and a massive chip on his shoulder. He immediately began filling up the stat sheet, but he was about to learn a harsh lesson. Burying opponents in points does not guarantee you a championship. Between 1984 and 1990, Jordan was an athletic anomaly. He treated the court like a runway, routinely defying gravity. The individual hardware piled up instantly. He captured multiple scoring titles, dropped a record 63 points against the Celtics in the playoffs, and took home Defensive Player of the Year honors by his 4th season. Yet his approach had a glaring flaw. He acted as a black hole on offense, constantly trying to force his way through double and triple teams, instead of passing to wide-open teammates. It made the Bulls entirely predictable. That predictability cost them dearly. For 3 consecutive years in the playoffs, the Detroit Pistons battered Jordan with extreme physicality and sent Chicago home early. The constant beatdowns from Detroit proved that individual greatness is useless against a coordinated, violent defense. To survive, he needed to learn how to tear opponents apart systematically from the inside. Entering his 2nd era, Jordan completely changed his body. He spent his offseason in the weight room, packing on serious muscle mass so he could actually absorb and deliver hits against the Pistons. This diagram visualizes the triangle offense instituted by Phil Jackson. It pulled Jordan out of isolation, positioning him closer to the basket to optimize spacing. When defenders collapsed on him in the post, he gave the ball up, allowing Scottie Pippen to take over playmaking. Pippen was uniquely equipped to help. With an enormous wingspan and lateral agility, he could guard the opposing team's best player, freeing Jordan to roam like a free safety and easily jump into passing lanes for steals. The results validated the sacrifice. A stronger, more trusting Jordan finally swept Detroit, captured his first title by taking down Magic Johnson's Lakers, and ultimately secured a three-peat against Charles Barkley's Phoenix Suns. By merging his physical gifts with a disciplined system, Jordan reached a point where individual brilliance no longer came at the expense of team success. Following his father's tragic death, Jordan walked away from basketball for 18 months to play minor league baseball. When he returned, he faced an Orlando Magic team whose immense size and depth easily exploited a Bulls roster that had lost its edge inside. Entering his 2nd three-peat, Jordan had aged. He traded the explosive quickness of his 20s for calculated, mechanical precision. He compensated for his declining speed with extreme basketball IQ. He perfected his footwork, turning his back to the basket and leaning on a turnaround jumper that hung in the air just long enough to be entirely unguardable. He also completely bought into the most highly specialized supporting cast in the league. He relied on Dennis Rodman to secure every critical rebound, and trusted shooters like Steve Kerr to keep the floor spaced wide open. This cerebral version of Jordan led Chicago to a record-breaking 72 wins. Even when his body failed him from food poisoning in the legendary flu game, he found a way to score 38 points and drive the team to 3 more championships. His final run proved that extreme dominance requires adaptation. Once his overwhelming physical advantages faded, his spatial awareness, elite footwork, and trust in his role players made him a completely different yet equally terrifying threat. Jordan effectively stitched together 3 separate elite careers. He had a 6-year stretch of scoring titles and a Defensive Player of the Year award, a 3-year peak of 3 rings with a 41-point finals average, and a final run with 203 regular season wins in 3 seasons. Any one of those windows matches the total lifetime achievements of most Hall of Famers. When analysts argue for Wilt Chamberlain as the greatest, they point to his impossible scoring averages. But those individual records rarely translated into championships against his primary rivals in the playoffs. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar has the sheer volume of stats and 6 rings of his own. But for 3 of those titles, he was not the undisputed best player on the floor. And while LeBron James offers unmatched longevity and arguably the most complete all-around game in history, his 6 finals losses and underperformance against Dallas in 2011 keep his resume from flawless execution. Jordan stands entirely alone because of a spotless 6-0 record in the NBA Finals. He achieved that perfection by refusing to stagnate, obsessively tearing down and reinventing his own game whenever the league demanded it.